Welcome to First Time Watching. Heel, also known as the Good Boy, follows a 19-year-old criminal who is kidnapped and forced into a twisted rehabilitation program by a dysfunctional couple determined to turn him into a good boy. In this video, I'll be explaining the ending right after a full movie recap. So please, like, subscribe, and hype up the video as we jump straight into the recap of Heel. Tommy is a drug-addicted douchebag who tries to get his girl Gabby messed up too, but she is not into it. But he ruins his chances with her by banging some other bird and strolling around the streets alone. So Tommy is a total loser, and as he stumbles across the street, a car stops behind him and someone grabs him. Some undisclosed time later, Chris sits in a restaurant where he meets with Rena. He wants to hire her, but first, he has to make sure she doesn't have any addictions. She doesn't, so they sign the contract and she goes over to his estate. She lied to him and does smoke, but eats some gum to hide the smell. Chris greets her. She was a little too early, and he acts like it's a problem, but ushers her in anyway, where he starts by checking her with a metal detector and takes her phone away from her. They sit down together to go over what the job entails, right after she signs a confidentiality agreement. Kathryn stumbles into the kitchen, so Chris introduces them, but Kathryn scurries off. After the signing, it's time for the grand tour. He introduces her to his son, Jonathan, and then it's time to show Rena the cellar. On the floor, there is Tommy. He is chained to the wall. Rena runs upstairs. Chris tries to explain what he is doing. Nobody gets hurt in his home. And he did do a background check into her past. He knows she is about to be deported from the country. He could make a call to make her troubles go away. So they resume the tour. It is her job to clean the cellar. She should not listen to Tommy when he is distressed. And of course, she has a taser and pepper spray for if he does decide to attack her. She starts to do her job when Tommy notices Rena. He begs her to please let him go before they notice, which really freaks her out. Chris thanks her because she did a lovely job and tells her he'll see her next Thursday. During the week, Chris, Kathryn, and Jonathan act like a normal family. But every time Chris goes to the basement, Tommy threatens him and tells him he'll stab him in the dick, so he tasers him. When he sits back down, Kathryn says, "What have you done?" To which Chris answers, he has everything under control. Chris goes back to the basement and shows Tommy videos of his behavior. He is a proper bellend, and he just thinks it's funny. Chris starts Tommy's rehabilitation and wants Kathryn to be part of the process too. He takes her with him, but when they arrive, Tommy's piss bucket is turned over. He throws his wet pants in Kathryn's face and uses the chains to choke Chris. Chris tells Kathryn to go up and easily overpowers Tommy. He then apologizes to his wife and runs her a bath. On his way back down, Jonathan asks if he can read Charlie's comics. He says yes, as long as he doesn't tell his mother. Chris brings his briefcase into the basement and stays very calm. He wants Tommy to apologize to his wife for what he did. The suitcase he brought is full of weapons, and he pepper sprays Tommy, then hits him with a police club and calls him a bad boy. That night, Jonathan asks his dad if he can play with Tommy soon. Chris tells him not just yet, but that's a great idea. It's Thursday, and Rena arrives to clean again. She also cleans Tommy's room. He tries to get her attention. When she tells him she can't help him, he says he knew she was foreign and that she should fuck off back to her own country. She starts crying as Chris returns and asks what is going on. He forces Tommy to apologize to Rena for his behavior. After the beating he got, he is now quite terrified of Chris. That night, it's time for Tommy to go upstairs for movie night, so Chris installs a hinge in the ceiling so that he can keep Tommy detained. Then he can sit down with Jonathan to watch a movie. Kathryn joins them in the living room. They are watching Charlie's favorite movie, so she sits down with her happy little family and Tommy. But the movie makes Tommy quite emotional, and he asks them to take him back down. In bed, Kathryn tells Chris that she dreamed about Charlie last night. He looked so happy and healthy. Tommy is in the basement the entire next day with a television showing programming about the dangers of drugs. He keeps trying to escape, but finds that is impossible. So the next day, he apologizes to Kathryn. She accepts. Chris couldn't be more pleased and hopes Tommy will slowly start to appreciate everything they are doing for him. Kathryn noticed Tommy squinting during the movie, so she brings him a selection of glasses to hopefully better his vision. And he will need that, because now Kathryn stays for him to rewatch videos of his old days. Tommy wants to know what they want from him. His probation officer will notice he's gone, and they'll start looking for him. Chris tells him there is no probation officer. He evaded trouble for his entire life. It's quite impressive. The next day, Chris extends Tommy's shackles to make it so he can go to the bathroom, and Kathryn brings him a fresh change of clothes and some books. The doorbell rings, and Chris freaks. He puts the taser against his chain to make sure Tommy shuts up. It's the delivery guy. Kathryn tells Jonathan to please never open the gate again. They can't have people coming around. The next day, Kathryn finds a pack of cigarettes in Jonathan's stuff, so Chris goes upstairs upstairs to talk to him. Jonathan lies to him and says he just carried those around, but then tells the truth and says he smoked one. Kathryn enters the room and tells him there is no punishment for the truth, but that's not what he told at first. So as punishment, she makes him smoke the entire pack in one go, and when he's done, she tells him to always destroy what destroys him. The next day, it's Rena's cleaning day again, and Tommy gives talking to her another shot. He asks her for a cigarette. She tells him she doesn't smoke, but he knows a smoker when he sees one. He apologizes to her again for scaring her and calling her names, so she gives him some chewing gum. While she goes back up, Tommy tries to reach for Rena's cleaning supplies, but he gets interrupted when Chris comes down to bring him a snack. Tommy begs Chris to let him go. He won't tell anybody about this place, but he isn't listening and grabs the TV. Kathryn sits with them to watch more of Tommy's videos. This one is of him threatening a kid and destroying his phone. You can see the pain in Kathryn's eyes and cries as, in the video, he pushes a cigarette onto the kid's face. The next day, Chris is tutoring Jonathan and the boys, terrified. Kathryn tells him she'll take over. Chris has better things to do. So he goes to Tommy. Tommy wants to know what the word intricate means in his book, so he teaches him the meaning of the word and tells him that for every book he reads, he'll get a non-alcoholic beer. That night, when Chris goes to bed, Kathryn is outside. She tells him it's time. So the next morning, they come in as a family with a cake to celebrate Tommy's rebirthday. And as a present, they have something he'll love, but he has to agree to one thing first, and he pulls out the chloroform. When Tommy wakes back up, they are outside. They are barbecuing in the Highlands. The mood is nice, and Tommy plays with Jonathan. And when the day is over, they drug him again. Tommy wakes back up, but he isn't in the basement anymore. He has a room now. There are rails throughout the house, which he can use to get around. Kathryn tells him they are so happy with the wonderful guy he is turning out to be, and that's why they are giving him more freedom. He can finally be a part of the family. While playing a game in his room with Jonathan, Tommy asks him who the room he's in used to belong to, but they get interrupted. The next day, Rena is around again, and Tommy takes her to the side. He tries to get the combination of the locks from her, which they use to lock Tommy off from certain parts of the house, but she doesn't tell him shit. This day, Rena acts a little off. Normally, she is already gone at 6, but this time, she is sticking around, so Kathryn calls her over to sit with them to check if she is okay. She tells them she thinks she is being watched and followed. She is afraid he might work for the person who used to employ her, and she doesn't want to mess anything up. Kathryn tells her she can stay with them. The only room they have at the moment is the cellar, but they could make it cozy for her, and since they don't really take no for an answer, she moves in. Tommy oversteps a little and asks Chris if he and Kathryn still bang, and after Chris walks in on Tommy jerking the old meat, it gives him an idea, so he needs Tommy and Rena to help him out. So that next afternoon, Tommy asks Kathryn to talk with him upstairs. He asks her about the book he is reading. It's about drugs. It's about trying to escape from the hard things in life, but also missing out on the beautiful and good things. So basically, his life. But when they go back down, the lights are all out. Chris has arranged a romantic dinner for him and his wife outside. Tommy does realize that he missed out on beautiful things in his life. But when Rena returns, he begs her to give him something long and thin from the drawer. Quick, before Chris returns, she slightly opens the drawer for him and walks off. He tries to reach for it without them noticing and manages to grab something and hides it in the plant just when Jonathan returns. They sit together, and Jonathan thanks Tommy for helping them set it up. Later that night, Chris also thanks Tommy for what he's done. He hasn't seen Kathryn happy in a long time, but Tommy tells him to thank himself. He did that, and then Tommy asks, why him? Why did he take him? He knows someone else was there before him. What did they do to him? But Chris tells him he doesn't know what he's talking about. The next day, Chris leaves the house when another car pulls up. 3 guys come running and tell Rena not to be scared, but they barge into the house. Rena apologizes to Kathryn, but they are her family. She has to go with them, but Tommy tells them no. Rena runs to Tommy and whispers 4201 into his ear, and then he attacks the guys. They kick the crap out of Tommy, and when Chris returns, Rena is gone. Chris sits with Tommy and tells him he is proud of him. He protected his family today like a real man, and he'll never forget that. He shouldn't worry, because tomorrow morning he'll get them the best home security system in the business. This means Tommy has to do it tonight. When they are all asleep, Tommy sneaks out of his room and makes his way to open the lock so that he can go downstairs. Once down, he goes straight to the plant and grabs the pick he grabbed from the drawer and tries to open the lock, which wakes up Chris. Chris grabs his gun and goes downstairs, and in the living room he finds the chain that he used to keep Tommy. Tommy sneaks up on him and hits the gun from his hand. He tries the front door, but it's locked. Chris stays very calm, and Kathryn comes down. They ask him to please go back to bed. Jonathan just went to sleep. He should stay calm. Kathryn tells Tommy he doesn't want to leave. He gives her the gun and tells her they aren't his family. They used him as a puppet. They chained him up. He tells them Jonathan is actually a good kid, but they are going to fuck him up just like they did the other one. That's when Kathryn snaps and tells Tommy to go to his room and calls him Sparkle. That was her nickname for Charlie. Tommy tells her it isn't his room, it's Charlie's room, and he doesn't know what they did to him, but he is never going to replace him. Chris opens the door and tells Kathryn it's all over. They have to let him go now. They can't repeat what happened last time. Kathryn puts the gun to herself, but Chris stops her. Tommy runs off and puts as much distance between that family and him. And when he's back home, the police question him about where he's been. He lies to them. He doesn't tell the authorities about the family. His mom didn't seem all that worried about him. She wasn't even the one that reported him missing. It was his girl Gabby. So that night, he goes back to the club to find Gabby. She seems happy, but she started using after he left. He finds her passed out in the club, so he helps her up. But the next day, he grabs his bags, picks up Gabby, puts her out with chloroform, but with consent, of course, burns his car to make sure they can't be found, and walks her back to the estate. The gates open for them. Their son came home. So in the end, Tommy returns to Chris and his family. But why is that? Tommy, in a sense, reminds me of Alex, the main character in A Clockwork Orange. He is a delinquent who does not see the issue in his behavior, but what he is really doing is running away from his home, his family, his mom, who doesn't even care about the fact that he hasn't been home in over a month. His drug abuse is him escaping from the pain, and him inflicting pain upon others he does because his pain is so strong that he needs others to feel it too. On the other hand, we have Chris and Kathryn, and even though it seems like Chris is the real monster who killed his own son Charlie, it's actually Kathryn who portrays real brutality, which is shown by her forcing Jonathan to smoke the entire pack of cigarettes in one go. It's the old saying, if you hold sand loosely in your hand, then it will stay there. If you squeeze onto it, it will find a way to escape. That is what they did to Charlie, and Chris realized this in the end, thanks to Tommy. They know Tommy wants nothing more than to be loved, but he needs to be able to do it on his own terms, and by letting him go, they eventually catch his heart. And then finally, why does he take Gabby? Well, to answer that question, you have to answer the more important question first. Why did Gabby even stick with Tommy when he was a piece of shit? Well, because her family is just as bad as his, and that makes it so that she would be happy with her new life as long as it's with Tommy. And that's a wrap. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.